A black hole is an eerie place where those laws of physics we studied at school stop working. If a massive star runs out of its fuel, it sometimes becomes super dense and buckles under its own weight, collapsing inward and bringing space-time along. As a result, the gravitational field of this new object gets so strong that nothing can escape it, not even light. That's how a black hole is born. The black holes closest to our planet are called Gaia BH1 and Gaia BH2. They were discovered thanks to the data collected by the European Space Agency's Gaia spacecraft, hence their names. Both are about 9 to 10 times more massive than our Sun and are located a mere 1,560 and 3,800 light-years away, respectively. In cosmic terms, they're situated in Earth's backyard. And there's something seriously wrong about these black holes. So, should you pack your emergency bag? Let's find out. The remarkably close black holes are likely to represent a previously unknown category of these mysterious objects. What sets them apart from others is that they're orbited by stars at much greater distances than scientists have observed previously in other black hole companion star pairings. Normal black hole companion star systems are known as X-ray binaries. They are usually bright in radio and high-energy X-ray emissions. They swallow matter and emit powerful bursts of energy, which makes them pretty easy to spot. Now, why did it take astronomers so long to spot these massive black holes residing right inside our home Milky Way galaxy? All because they're almost invisible. In the past, astronomers spotted black holes by looking for the remnants of their meals. The thing is that when a star or even a cloud of interstellar gas is pulled into a black hole, it leaves behind a trail of electromagnetic radiation. And scientists use it to detect the presence of a black hole. But unlike other holes discovered before, Gaia BH1 and BH2 are pitch black. They don't seem to be snacking on anything at the moment. This makes them inactive, or dormant. So astronomers had to use another method. They tracked the movement of two companion stars orbiting these cosmic monsters. The stars, similar to our Sun, wobbled a bit while traveling through space. To researchers, it was a sign that something with a lot of gravity, like another star, was tugging on them. Interestingly, when they examined the area with the help of telescopes, they didn't find anything emitting radiation. So the whole situation only made sense if there was a black hole involved in the process. Luckily, Gaia is perfect for spotting invisible black holes. Thanks to its state-of-the-art equipment, it can accurately measure the motion and position of billions of stars. No other instrument is capable of such precision. Gaia's observations were backed up by the data received later by other observatories. For instance, NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory, as well as the South African Meerkat radio telescope, revealed no visible light coming from Gaia BH2. So even though they detected nothing, it was still valuable information. It told astronomers a lot about the environment around the black hole. A lot of particles are coming towards it from the companion star in the form of stellar wind. But the researchers didn't spot any radio light. It means that the black hole doesn't have much of an appetite, and not many particles cross its event horizon, or the point of no return. Unfortunately, it's still unclear why that is. Anyway, should we be worried about those mysterious black holes lurking in the darkness of space so close to our planet? I've got some good news. There's absolutely no reason to worry. First of all, these black holes are sleeping at the moment. And it doesn't look like they're going to wake up anytime soon. Secondly, they're still too far away to affect our life. And it's not like black holes know how to travel.
Stellar collisions occur about every 10,000 years and are an incredible spectacle. But they're only fascinating to watch when they happen tens and hundreds of light years away. If a star collides with our own sun, it will be a global cataclysm that will leave no chance of survival to anything. If it happens, it will most likely involve a rogue star. These are stars that aren't bound by gravity to any galaxy and move independently through space. and such a star has already paid a visit to our solar system. To be more precise, 2 stars. This is Scholz's star. It's a binary system consisting of a red dwarf, which weighs about 86 times as much as Jupiter, and a slightly smaller brown dwarf, which is 65 times heavier than Jupiter. About 70,000 years ago, these stars approached the boundary of our system, the OORT cloud. It's a kind of shield of comets and cosmic bodies that surrounds our solar system. Humanity was already around at the time and probably began spreading worldwide from Africa, and they could have witnessed a dim red light in the night sky. And even though Scholz's star flew by us at a distance of about 0.8 light years, its gravitational field strongly influenced the movement of different cosmic bodies. But what if such a star didn't pass by, but went straight to the center of our solar system, to the Sun? Scientists say this may happen in 1.3 million years. Meet Gliese 710. This star has 60% of the Sun's weight and moves steadily towards us. Like people 70,000 years ago, we will be able to see the light from this orange dwarf with the naked eye. First, Gliese 710 will approach our shield, the OORT cloud. The star's gravitational field will capture some meteorites and throw them in all directions. The number of meteorites falling down on Earth will probably increase tenfold then. After that, Gliese 710 will move on to the planets. It will consume them one by one, scattering their fragments all over the system. And while small meteorites wouldn't disturb us much, now we'll have a real threat on our hands. Planet shards the size of a meteorite that wiped dinosaurs off the face of the Earth will zoom straight at us. The star is getting closer and closer to the Sun, and if we somehow survive the falling fragments of our former neighbors, now Gliese 710 will have zoned in on us. Gravity and temperature will just tear the Earth apart. Still, this terrible sight will long since have had no onlookers. Humanity will have evacuated from the Earth long before, of course. Earth, Venus, Mercury. Gliese 710 has approached the Sun. The smaller star will orbit the big one, gradually closing in on it in a spiral. With time, the 2 stars will merge, and if their total weight exceeds a certain value, a disaster will occur. The temperature of the rogue star grows and nuclear reactions inside it accelerate. Little by little, the inner part of the star heats up to a critical temperature, and a supernova explodes. In a few seconds, all the substance of the star is scattered into space, and a powerful explosion will wipe out what's left of our solar system. But so far, Gliese 710 is 64 light-years away from us, and there's still a chance it will change its route and pass by peacefully. And what if 2 more unusual stars collide with each other? This is a neutron star. It's very small, only about 12 miles wide, but its weight is comparable to that of the Sun. This ball is extremely heavy. A neutron star collision can generate one of the most mysterious phenomena in the universe. 2 neutron stars fall into each other's gravitational field. As they move, they gradually approach each other in a spiral. And just as they almost meet, 2 different scenarios can unfold. If the weight of the 2 stars is relatively small, then after the collision, their combined weight gives life to a new neutron star. But if our participants are a little heavier, then when they collide, their weight exceeds the critical point, and this creates a magnetic field trillion times stronger than the Earth's. All this happens in just 1 or 2 milliseconds and is accompanied by a blindingly bright flash. This is a short gamma-ray burst. It's considered the brightest and most energetic electromagnetic event in the universe. A black disk appears at the collision site of the neutron stars. It's a black hole. Scientists believe this is one of the possible ways of its appearance. Black holes have so much weight that they warp the space and time around them. They have an incredible gravitational force. If something gets too close to a black hole, it's unlikely to ever leave it. Even the photons of light, the fastest particles in the universe, are unable to shake off the black hole's grip. By the way, an ultramassive black hole is at the center of our Milky Way galaxy. It can weigh millions and billions of times more than the Sun. Now we know how a black hole is born. But what happens if two black holes collide? Astronomers have already seen such an event. For about 7 billion years, two huge black holes were circling around each other, gradually getting closer. One had the weight of 66 suns, and the other had 85. At the moment of collision, the big black hole absorbed the smaller one and grew even larger. The new black monster weighed as much as 142 suns. During the collision, a huge amount of energy was released, equivalent to the mass of 9 suns. The energy gave the universe a hefty shake, and the vibration from the impact has only recently reached Earth's telescopes. But in 4.5 billion years, an even more significant collision will occur. Our entire Milky Way galaxy will collide with the Andromeda galaxy. Although Andromeda is 2.5 million light-years away from Earth, it's still our closest neighbor. Our universe is expanding, and there's movement inside it. Scientists have found that Andromeda is moving in our direction at a speed of 74 miles per second. So, in about 3 billion years, stars and hot gas of this galaxy will be visible to us with unaided eyes. Then it will crash into our own galaxy within 1 or 2 more billion years. The duo will move around each other like a yo-yo. They will approach one another and then pass by at a very close distance at an incredible speed. They will begin to move away from each other, but the force of gravity will bring them back. And then another collision will begin. But this time, they will form one giant galaxy called MILKDROMEDA or MILKDROMEDA. It's hard to predict what will happen to us and our planet. In one scenario, we may not even notice the consequences of the collision. Despite the galaxies being full of stars and other celestial bodies, they still consist mostly of emptiness. Stars are really far away from each other. For example, if we imagine that our sun is the size of a coin, then the nearest star, Proxima Centauri, would be as far as the distance from Philadelphia to Detroit. That's about 450 miles. So there's lots of space between the stars and the galaxies. The second possible scenario is when our solar system is left alone in dark space. When galaxies collide and circle around each other, a lot of stars will be ejected as if from a catapult. Look at the merry-go-round in an amusement park. When it spins, the centrifugal force pushes the swings out. And if you unhook the swings while it's spinning, it will fly away really far. The same phenomenon occurs with many stars during galactic collisions, and our sun might be among them. In this case, we will hardly notice the difference. Life on Earth will continue at its usual pace. The only disadvantage is that our usual night sky will begin to disappear, and in time, it will turn into a black void. The last and most unlikely option is that our solar system will collide with another star. Well, in this case, all life on Earth will be doomed, just as if a star like Gliese 710 would crash into the sun.
No one will hear your cry in space, or something like that. We've all heard this famous chilling phrase, and it's actually true. Space, for the most part, consists of a giant nothingness. There's a lot of, space in space. But this doesn't mean there are no sounds in space. In fact, there are plenty of them, and some of them can even make you shiver. Let's take a look at the scariest space sounds. First of all, how are cosmic sounds even recorded? Sound is just the vibration of molecules. When you scream, you make the molecules push each other furiously until they reach the ear of the person you're yelling at. Then these vibrations get transmitted to the brain, and we recognize them as something that you might need to apologize for. In other words, to hear something, we need molecules. And that's where things get complicated. There aren't any of them in space. The entire universe almost completely consists of a vacuum. No, not a Hoover. Absolute nothingness. However, the wizards from NASA still record space sound somehow. So how do they do it? The thing is, there are some types of waves that don't care about molecules. We regular folk can't perceive them without some special devices. These waves include, for example, radio waves. We'll need a radio or something like that to recognize them. And that's exactly what NASA's satellites do. They catch random radio waves. Thanks to their heroism, we can find out how different cosmic bodies sound. These satellites record a variety of waves, fluctuations of plasmas, magnetic fields, and other, stuff. And then scientists from NASA transform all this into normal soundtracks. And some of them sound quite frightening, to put it mildly. Let's take our magnetic field, for example. It surrounds our planet like an invisible shield, protecting us from all sorts of nasties, like radiation and solar winds. At the same time, we can neither see it, feel it, nor hear. Oops. Well, the last one is outdated. Scientists from the Technical University of Denmark took magnetic waves recorded by the ESA swarm satellite. They converted them into an audio track and got a pretty creepy result. Now, to be honest, it sounds more like an eerie entity stalking you in the middle of the night. And if you remember the maps of Earth's magnetic field, it starts to feel like a spider crawling nearby. Ew. And this isn't the first strange sound that we caught on Earth. Recently, we caught another weird radio emission from space. Scientists found out that the repeating signal came from somewhere very far away, like billions of light years away from us. Such fast radio bursts usually lasted no longer than a few milliseconds, but this one was unique. It lasted about 3 seconds, basically thousands of times longer than usual. And at the same time, the signal was very precise, so much so that scientists even compared it to a heartbeat. Scientists believe that this signal is caused by pulsars, or neutron stars. One time, Nikola Tesla caught something similar, but unfortunately, at that time, we didn't know about such things as pulsars, so Tesla was sure that he had caught a message from some extraterrestrial life. It's a pity that the truth turned out to be much more boring. But let's move on from the Earth to the Moon. In 1969, the astronauts of the Apollo 10 mission, the spacecraft that made the final test flight to the Moon, flew past its surface. And then they caught some strange signals coming from the dark side of the Moon, the side that we never see because the Moon is tidally locked to us. The sound was so weird that the astronauts weren't even sure whether to report it to NASA. They were afraid they wouldn't be taken seriously, and maybe even not allowed to participate in the next space missions. Here's what it sounded like. But according to NASA, it's not some creepy extraterrestrial music at all. These may just be some radio waves that affected each other because of their proximity, although the astronauts who heard it for the first time probably felt a little creeped out. Let's move to the other planets. Now, 40 years ago, scientists actively explored the surface of Venus. They sent as many as 10 probes there, which were supposed to capture audio and video shooting from the surface. Now we know what Venus, which could easily destroy us at any attempt to even get close to it, sounds like. Horrifying. And you wouldn't expect anything else from the most dangerous planet in the solar system. Unfortunately, Venus is even more toxic than the average Twitter user. So these probes didn't last too long. They heroically arrived on a planet and soon broke down. Next one is Jupiter. This space giant, which is 11 times larger than the Earth, never fails to scare us. One of NASA's probes, Juno, flies around Jupiter every few weeks. The probe is moving at a tremendous speed, 130,000 miles per hour. One day, Juno caught one of the strongest invisible signals it had ever encountered. This was the point at which the mad solar wind came into conflict with the magnetic field of Jupiter. It kind of sounded like a cosmic boom. The original sound lasted 2 hours, but it was compressed to a few seconds. It actually sounds more like a collision of a sea wave and a rock. But here, in terms of horror, Jupiter surprisingly loses to one of its small moons, Ganymede. In 2021, the Galileo space probe flew past Ganymede, and during its flight, it received a rather strange recording. These sounds are satellite radiation, and it's unclear whether it sounds like a cozy sunny day in the jungle or like thousands of bats waiting for you in the night. Next one is Saturn. This signal was caught by the Cassini-Huygens Automatic Interplanetary Station, which was launched into space in 1997. When flying past Saturn, Cassini recorded a pretty scary sound. This terrifying cry of thousands of souls is actually just some radio waves. They aren't too different from what the auroras emit on Earth. A little later, Cassini received another recording. the sounds made by lightning and thunderstorms on Saturn. They sound pretty interesting, too. More like popping corn or a Geiger counter, right? But that's just because these lightning strikes have a crazy frequency. Moving on from the solar system to outer space. The famous Voyager 1 was launched back in 1977 and continues to send us data even 40 years after its launch. In 2012, it left the solar system and entered interstellar space. And then, while abandoning its home, Voyager 1 detected the sound of plasma waves. The original recording lasted 7 months, but fortunately, scientists felt sorry for us and reduced it to 12 seconds. It isn't really eerie, but is still kind of unsettling. And although it feels like nothing can beat Saturn's horrors, let's end this tournament with one of the scariest objects in the universe, a black hole. This sound was recorded by the Chandra Space Telescope. While studying a cluster of galaxies in the constellation Perseus, they discovered something strange. Some undulating movements appear from the center of the cluster. They spread out in all directions, like circles on the water. Scientists have suggested that this was caused by a supermassive black hole. The thing is, black holes don't always devour space objects entirely. Sometimes they kind of spit them out. This causes vibrations of gases, which we can convert into soundtracks. What's interesting is that the oscillation of each such wave actually lasts about 10 million years. You're just listening to a very accelerated recording. Scientists have reduced the delay between oscillations by about 144 quadrillion times. So let's check it out. This is probably the eeriest sound from the whole list. Nothing too loud or wild, but there's something dark and disturbing about it. Now, those were the scariest space sounds captured by NASA. To be fair, most of them sounded creepy simply because they're radio waves, but it's still fun to get spooked sometimes.